The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan. Got my capability statement, yes, I'm ready to go. Got my balance sheet, my P&L, my statement of cash flow. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And today we're going live on Facebook.
Well, wait, Gilbert is going live on Facebook. He has now come up into the 21st century.
I am stepping up in my technology race.
Right, exactly. So bear with him, guys. He's got some mechanical adjustments, but he'll have it right by next week. So welcome to the Business Zone with Crystal.
Welcome. And Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic.
Right.
And for those of you who are just tuning in, don't know what the Business Zone is about, the Business Zone is a small business radio show that helps small businesses. Or we provide, as a matter of fact, we provide resources, ideas, and advice for small businesses to help you become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready.
Yes, we do. And and one of the purposes, one of our main mission and goal is to just make sure that our businesses have the knowledge that they need in order to run effective businesses. It's so important today that we change how we do business, and one of the things that we need to change is the decreasing wealth gap that we have in all over anywhere where there's black folks doing business.
That's right.
So a couple weeks ago, we had looked at a report, the tapestry of black-owned businesses, and it had some depressing numbers.
Very depressing numbers.
And so that's what we want to do. So most of that, and a lot of that starts on the basis starts with education and knowledge, so that you can make really great decisions, better decisions than you do without the knowledge. So that's
many of our small businesses, we've got resources available to us always around us. We just need to apply those resources and just make them happen.
And just make those happen,
yes.
and understand that it's okay not to know everything. Everybody doesn't know everything.
That's correct.
But the point is you know where to find the information. You may not know the information, but as long as you know how to research and find the information, that's better for you and better for your customers and your clients. So
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Crystal, you just came off an amazing weekend this past weekend. You were recognized by a few organizations, and you were asked to speak at an event. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, last weekend was quite busy. So on Friday night, it started Friday night after the show. My Zumba teacher, Zumba Ronnie, we were celebrating her birthday. Hi, Ronnie. She's just checked in on Facebook Live. So we went to Crenshaw Live. It's a little club around the corner. Yeah. And we partied a storm. I was telling my girlfriend today, I hadn't been in a club in so long. When I first got in there, I wasn't even sure what to do. And I used to be a real clubber. So I was a little confused, but there were over 40 of us there, and to identify us, we had on white blouses, white tops, and blue jeans, and we had on high heels and pink lipstick.
Oh,
and
my
so,
Lord.
so you looked around, there's just a sea of us, and so we took our Zumba floor routines and put them in the club.
Oh, my
So we
Lord.
just took over the club. We had a good time. Hey, Cosette, we had a really, really, really good time. Yeah, Kelvin, it was fun. We partied and we just had a ball.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
to
so
me.
all the ladies from Zumba doing our Zumba routines that converted to party street, to the party street life. It was great fun. And then Saturday, there was the Harvest Day Festival in Lamert Park. So it was a full day of community activities.
So tell us a little bit about what the Harvest Day Festival is about.
So Harvest Day is a holiday that Dr. Claude Anderson, for those of you that don't know, he is the individual that's really fighting for our reparations.
Oh, very good.
For Black people. And so last week was that Harvest Day Festival, so we celebrated it in here in Los Angeles, and it was with Black Writers on Tour, Dr. Rosie Milligan,
Very good.
and as well with We Can, which is a group in there in Lamert, and Foundation Core, which is Dr. Avon, and Dr. Avon is the founder of the King Parade.
Right.
And so they all came together, put together this great event. The keynote speaker was Dr. Boyce Watkins, powerful, powerful speaker. I don't know if you follow him on Facebook or he has a Facebook podcast, and he also has a YouTube podcast, and he talks about creating wealth in the Black community.
And we certainly need to do that, find out ways or implement ways of creating wealth in the minority, African American and Latino communities. And there's so much resources available to us. We just need to be able to identify those with values and form a coalition and make that coalition work for us, our small businesses.
Right. And Dr. Watkins has he's written a book on how to think like a millionaire and Black American money. And so there was breakout sessions and during the day, but the biggest thing was white tops, high heels, bling bracelets. We had a blast. That we did, Zumba, Ronnie. So he was talking about that, and he does a online course, or they have a course on creating Black businesses.
Right.
And he's an economist. He went to school at and he was a professor at Syracuse. He's out of Chicago.
Very good.
Some kind he can be a little brass, but it gets the point across.
Right.
And basically, right now, his message was, there is no saviors for us. We are the saviors.
Yeah. And
so we need to change how we're thinking and doing. So in that, it was an outdoor event. We had breakout panels. He spoke. There were vendor booths, as well as they spoke, and there was one topic on what millennials want and what millennials should be doing for the future. And then I spoke on home ownership and wealth.
So speaking of that, so you spoke on a variety of different areas at this event, the Harvest Festival. And was that the one where you got recognized, or?
No, that was on Saturday. That was my community event on Saturday. Then Sunday was the day I was recognized. Jackie B, with my co-director with Cycling Black Dollars, and we were recognized by the Consolidated Realtists Women Council, and it was a scholarship luncheon that they had, and they recognized Jackie and I.
And for those of you who are listening for the first time, Crystal, my co-host here on the show, she is the co-executive director of Recycling Black Dollars. And it's just a phenomenal organization. It's got a variety of different resources to help small businesses tap into like-minded businesses and obtain resources that they can really use to help to grow their business. So my co-host here, Crystal, she got recognized on Sunday, and she got an amazing award.
I did. So I got a plaque, which was great, and recognizing Jackie and I for the service that we have. Now, Jackie's been with Recycling Black Dollars much longer than I have been. She was there with Muhammad, and then I came after Muhammad. But
Yes.
but here's what we got. We got the keynote speaker. So I'm going to have to pull up this information for this guy.
Right.
The keynote speaker was this man that he is an African-American sculptor, former test pilot, who was the first African-American to enter the Air Force training program from which NASA selected its astronauts.
Unbelievable.
And so he's telling the story. He's 80-something years old now, and he's 85. And he was telling the story how he was selected.
Wow.
President Kennedy reached out to the Air Force, which he was a member of. Now, mind you, this man is about 5'2".
Wow.
And what he was talking about was opportunities that his mother, because he was so tiny,
Right.
his mother knew that he had to be a brainiac,
Right,
because he
right.
wasn't going to make it in life with it being 5'2".
Yes.
And so she exposed him to everything. And one of the things she exposed him to was learning to fly.
That's amazing.
So when President Kennedy made a decision that they wanted to he wanted to be the president to have the first black man go to the moon.
Hey, Clarence.
And so he
Murmur.
was selected. So they had to go through the Air Force to find this black person, but
Yes.
they had to have there were 5 things that they were looking for.
Right.
And he had 4 of the 5.
Wow.
And one of them was he had 23 hours of solo as a solo pilot.
Right.
And so that was it. So then he came in, and he was so funny because when he's talking, in 1953, we weren't quite welcomed in the Air Force.
That's true.
And so he had a hard time being the only black person in the Air Force. And so he had a hard time, but he passed everything with flying colors.
That's great.
He was ready to go to space, to the moon, and then President Kennedy got shot. And so when that happened, here comes Johnson, and President Johnson felt that he needed to have his own black person, another black person.
Right.
Not the same black
So
person.
he brought his own black to
So he had to go get his own black person. So from there, because he had become he was an engineer, he also opportunities just popped up out of nowhere.
That's great.
And he was introduced to building homes,
Right.
and so he became a major a real estate developer in Denver.
Yes.
And he built a great deal of the property in this particular area, condos and houses, single-family homes. And from there, he went back and received his master's in fine art in 1977.
That's beautiful.
And he gained a reputation as a sculptor. So he became this amazing sculptor. And so today, he sculpts great works and monuments all over the country. And so he did one sculpture called Underground Railroad in Detroit. He's done an MLK sculpture in Denver. So the one I got was called The First Pioneer Woman.
Wow.
Beautiful. It's a brass. It's very heavy. Absolutely gorgeous. And he said that one, they actually sent the sketch to
Right.
NASA. They sent it to space.
So I'm sure on our Facebook page.
Yeah, so
you're-
all of
you're
that,
gonna have that
you guys have all
sculpture there
seen it.
real
You've
soon.
all complimented it.
Very good.
And it was awesome. So that was my weekend of civic community.
Well, you've done a great
outreach,
job, and you
so-
definitely deserved it, Crystal. You've been working hard with small businesses. For those of you who are just tuning in and you don't know what Crystal does, Crystal is a co-host here on our show on the Business Zone, and her background is in bookkeeping, accounting, and she's done a lot of work with small businesses, helping them to do their books, manage their books, their finances, and she just got recognized on Sunday. So.
Well, actually, I'm
Kudos.
starting to stack them up, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And my works are starting to actually become. I've started to be recognized for the works that I've done in our community
That's
for
what I'm
over the
talking
last
about.
30 years. So that's cool.
So
and I don't do it to be recognized, but it is nice.
Well, it's nice to be recognized. That means people are paying attention to what you do and they're
Right.
acknowledging it. So that's a good thing. So we're at the 15-minute point. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right now on the Business Zone. So for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching the Business Zone with
Krista?
and Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And if you want to call in and join in our conversation here, we have a guest coming up who's going to talk about some other types of resources that you can access for your business. Our phone number here is 323-293-3375. That's 323-293-3375. Give us a call. We'll be very happy to entertain your call and include you in our program. So let's go ahead and take a break. We'll be back in 2. So we're back on the Business Zone with
Crystal.
and Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And today we've got a very special guest here in the studio with us. Crystal, who do we have in the studio?
We have Mr. Greg Winston. He's been in the studio before. I've known him, I don't know, now it's probably going on 6 years.
Yeah, about 6.
Six, 7 years. Yeah, it might be even a little longer. Greg, along with his business success, so he's a speaker. He's an incredible salesperson. This is his fourth book. Fourth book.
Yeah.
Fourth book, but he's kind of changed directions. In his first couple of books, it was all about sales and how to sell to the wealthy. And now he's changed his direction and he began speaking to youth groups during his college days. Delighted with the idea of helping kids who grew up as he did, he has continued his outreach programs. And today, violence is changing our culture. So Greg is taking it upon himself to write books now that pertain to the safety of our children.
Yeah, that's right.
And so his first book is Barbed Wire Souls, right?
Yeah.
And this is his second book that just came out, and it's called The First 7 Seconds, Save Your Child from Police Violence Right Now. And so we want to welcome you, Greg.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you for coming. And this is a right on time topic. With what's going on every time you turn the news on, every time you open up Facebook. This last week has just been...
It's been crazy.
It's just been just incredibly crazy. And I think even today, you might have to start writing books on how do you protect your children from being picked up by ICE.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's like there's a war on children.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great topic, though, because, in the African American community, we got to prepare our kids on how to interact with the cops when they're pulled over, or if, they interact at all. In the Latino community, it's the same thing. The parents have to prepare their kids how to interact with the cops, and now dealing with ICE.
Well, I'll tell you, Gilbert, the suggestion you're making is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And here's the first thing I'll tell you. I interviewed over 127 police officers to write this book.
Yes.
So the book is written from their vantage point and what they look at.
Right.
And I'm using those tools to help our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just amazing what came out of their mouths when I would interview them.
Oh, yeah. It's true. And go ahead, Crystal.
So what caused you to write this particular book?
Well, I have an 18-year-old daughter. You've met her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really concerned when the young leader, Sandra Bland, was pulled over in Dallas and killed.
Yeah.
So I got really concerned because all of a sudden I thought this includes women too. It's not just
yeah,
our
it does.
boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to prepare her, and the first thing I thought about was I won't let her wear hoodies.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I had to get more practical, and I started interviewing. I had one friend who was a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
That started it. And after I spoke with him, I just started talking to every police officer I would meet.
Mm-hmm.
And they would give me information that was shocking. In fact, the title comes from that.
Right.
That police officers told me that when they pull someone over, they're actually afraid.
Really?
And in those first 7 seconds, they determine what's going to happen to you.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So, with that being said, what do you think are seven of the top things that the cops look for when they pull over a minority, a Latino,
Yeah.
in a auto stop?
Well, first of all, before this time, I thought they would just look at color.
Uh-huh.
But while they do use color as a determining factor,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what they start with.
Really?
They start with the car. They're going to see if there's any damage. They look to see if the glass on the driver's side is broken. They think the car's been stolen.
Wow.
They look at your license plate. If it's askew, if there's something covering a number, then they think you're hiding something. Again,
Wow.
it may be stolen. They look for dark tints. The back windows should never have, the front windows should never be as dark as the front. In fact, they now have measurement tools to tell if they're too
I
dark.
think it's supposed to be 30 degrees in the front.
Yep.
That's the lowest it should be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they look for posture. If you're leaning too far down, if you're kind of tilted where they can't see you as well. The next thing is a hoodie, is the number one piece of clothing they use to determine if they're going to pull you over. And it's not just wearing it, it's how much of your face is covered.
So if when they pull someone over, a minority, they don't exhibit any of those characteristics, do they still feel afraid, or what's their thought process?
Unfairly, they do.
They still do.
They still do.
And what if, because the Caucasian or the Anglo people, they also wear hoodies. In fact, they've adopted a lot of our culture.
Yeah.
And a lot of them wear hoodies. I mean, you see it when you're watching movies. That's the number one garment that they have on.
Yeah. Here's what was surprising to me. I boiled this thing way down where I thought originally it's just us, it's just black people.
Mm-hmm.
It's different.
Right.
Whoever's different from them that starts it. So a blue-eyed blonde kid who has entitlement issues could have a problem. Persian community, darker people, they have a problem.
Wow.
And so we can't wait on legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at this and thought, what is it that causes them to ratchet things up? And I put a lot of the things in that book, whether it's how you place your hands, your attitude, even talking too much when they approach you and they're asking questions is a no-no.
Wow.
So it's a lot.
Wow. That is unbelievable. So, quick thinking entrepreneur, hearing these types of things today might say, what could I come up with? What can I invent in order to capitalize on these types of activities going on? What I mean, you probably never thought about this, but I'm just wondering, as an entrepreneur, what are some of the things I could come up with, I could invent that would help to alleviate that type of tension between the cops and the minority groups?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm going to tell you this. They already have inventions. Gilbert, there are cameras that go around 360 degrees of your car. And all they're filming is that violence. So here's the thing that I see. Cops are like us.
Yeah.
They have families that they want to go home to. They have good days and they have bad days. It's that 7-second interval.
Yeah.
How you respond during that interview is the invention you need. Because I don't care what you have. If they have a bad attitude, you may have the greatest invention, but it's too late. And I thought about that too, because I thought the people in the camera industry are going to have a heyday.
Right.
And all they're going to do is film violence if you ratchet that cop up.
So maybe then what we could do, you know how you have those DIYs, those self-help videos. Maybe this could be a video that will teach minorities, Latinos, how to interact with a cop on a traffic stop within the first
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. In fact, August 29th,
Yes.
let me get the address right, it's 6850 Van Nuys Boulevard, which is near Sherman Oaks.
Yes.
I'm going to produce my first training segment. At that training segment, I'm going to have mom to moms, mocha moms, mothers of black boys. All of these groups are coming together to hear these tactics on how their kids should act, and I'm going to demonstrate that.
Right.
I'm going to have film clips, I'll have video, and Crystal's seen me talk before. So I'm going to put all of that into a show so that kids can see it firsthand before it happens to them.
Yes. This is amazing. And for those of you who are just tuning in, we're on the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. And we're here with our very special guest today. His name is Mr. Greg Winston. And I'm telling you, he's got some great nuggets here that he can share with minority and Latino groups dealing with or interacting with the police in a traffic stop. You know, these are the little nuggets that can really help us. It could save a life.
Yeah.
And I think there was the other, obviously every time you turn the television on, or not even the television, mostly your social media, there was a young man. And so in addition to police officers, now we have a lot of white citizens that call the police on us on a regular.
Yeah.
So there was one, I think it happened 2 days ago, and this lady accused this man of looking at her. And he was actually ordering his food, and I guess he looked off to think what he wanted, and she thought he was looking at her, and it made her suspicious looking. So she called the police, and the police came, and it was a young black guy, obviously, and he just sat there with his hands just like this with his phone out, and there was another lady taping the whole thing, and they're asking him to show his ID, and he's just standing there, and he's like, I have nothing to hide. I'm here getting my food. I don't understand. I wasn't even looking at her. I was ordering my food.
Yeah.
And even the fast food's like, yeah, that's all he was doing. And so in her mind, but
So
we
happened?
seemed to spot. They just kept going on, and eventually they took him to arrest him for just being there.
Really?
And I guess he called his attorney and all that kind of stuff. So you never know what happens on the other end of it. But the man, there was nothing, no belligerence, no nothing. But I think it's so it's not just them, and this is the other part of that. When citizens call the police, and if that first 7 seconds is a danger zone, you call them because this person's accusing you of something that's not even happening.
Yeah.
So they come there with
an attitude.
With an attitude ready to shoot you.
Yeah.
And it's because somebody has turned and decided for whatever reason you happen to be a danger. And it's really because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Now, as in keeping with what Crystal just said, we also noticed there's a big spike in police violence.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the African American community or the Latino community. And I'm just wondering if, based on the research you've been doing, what were your findings? What do you think are contributing factors to that? Why there's an increase?
That's a great question, Gilbert. And let me start by saying the violence spiked in 2016. Do any of you know what was going on during that time that was in the news all the time?
The election?
Yeah, the announcement that Trump made that he was going to run for president.
Yes.
And right after that, the hatred started spewing from his mouth.
Yeah.
And now people are finally beginning to see the connection between Trump saying something evil and it being acted out by someone that calls himself a follower. So it's not anything I want to talk about, but it's the truth. The
Right.
truth is it spiked the moment he announced.
Right.
So,
Now, in the news, we noticed over the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, there's a lot more violence that we're gun shooting.
Yeah.
That's being recorded and reported. So, do you think that's connected as well?
I do. And, it's really sad now that politicians who know it don't step up.
Right.
In Trump's camp, right after that last shooting, he came on, and you could tell he had been told to do this because he was reading from the teleprompter.
Right.
Normally, when you see Trump, he's just talking.
Right.
So this was so big, they thought it would hurt him so much, they scripted a speech for him.
Wow.
And it was obvious he was reading it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Were they actually one of the Shepard on Fox News?
Yeah.
He actually did. They spliced up and edited video on when he's speaking off the cuff.
Yeah.
And when he's speaking
On a teleprompter.
And it was just so. Of course, when he's being real, he's just out there, and he knows that he's inciting this riot type environment.
Yeah.
And he wants that. They kind of almost, and I think Steve Bannon said it some time ago. They want this race war. They want to completely break down our system, American system, and build it back up, but making sure it's in favor of white society and against us. So it's pretty interesting. But so this is really important because the ACLU years ago when this really first started, it's always been a problem walking, driving, talking, being black in America, right?
Right.
So they actually have a card, and that they disseminate it out to youth organizations where it tells you what your rights are and how you're supposed to interact with. And so there was a movie, I think it's called How We Hate or We Should Hate. It's about a young...
The Hate We Give.
The Hate We Give. Excellent movie. And I actually used it in a class with some kids. But in that, the father he set his kids down, and it was like every week they had to talk.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier about that talk. Because African American parents, we have to give that to the kids. So I was just wondering if the Latinos and other minority groups, if they give that talk to their kids.
I saw something recently where this guy had he moved his son, his wife, his kids were biracial. They moved to Beverly Hills, and he felt that his child was protected in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
So he never had the conversation with his son.
Wow.
And then the son was playing football in the community.
And he got pulled over.
And then the father was like, oh my God, I moved out of I purposely moved my family because I never thought I had to be able to have this talk.
Right.
But he realized, son, I have to have this talk. I don't care where you live.
Yeah.
Because even when you go out of town, when my nephew was in Dayton, Dayton's a very racist place in Ohio. And Ohio has its moments all throughout the state. But here, when he was going to school, it was a big issue with the campus police attacking, and it was only a small, it was like 2,500 black people on campus. I think it was a total of 4,500 minorities, period, out of 6,000 or 7,000 students. So he was at a campus party, left his phone in the car, went out. He's at the advisors, the what do you call them, the dorm advisors.
Right.
He left out there right there in the thing, and he was walking, went to the passenger side to go get his phone. Then of course campus police came up and said he was going to be drinking. But he wasn't even he was just going to get the phone. But it escalated, and he ended up going to jail that night.
Wow.
And so we get a call in the middle of the night that he's in jail. He's in Ohio. We're in Los Angeles. So needless to say, my sister was just almost just panicked out of her mind.
Yeah.
His parents went and got him. We wired the money. So this escalated into some major drama. So now the police have him pegged. So then about 4 or 5 weeks later, he's at another party. These two guys are having a discussion that escalates. then one starts to hit a girl. So my nephew's like, whoa, dude, what you doing? You can't hit a girl, knock it off. So he's trying to break it up. Here come this cop again. So now they want to arrest him again.
Oh, my Lord.
So he's being the savior here. But this is where it gets weird. So he goes through all this, has to go to court. It's just a mess, right? So then what happens, he's going to court. He's coming back from homecoming for his best friend, and he's coming back from Howard. He's on the plane. He gets a cab to take him back to his dorm. The police pulls over the cab.
A third time?
Yeah, this is months later.
Oh, okay.
This is a regular city police officer, pulls over a cab, tells the driver to get out the car, and then tells the passenger to get out the car. Wow. And then goes in and searched the back of the car to say that the passenger, being my nephew, had weed on him in the car.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like it's insanity. There's no rhyme or reason. So you really truly have to know how to protect yourself.
Right. Well, Crystal, you earlier when you started, you said this gentleman moved to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And it brought to mind a question that came up during my talks. Someone asked me, is it better to be pulled over by a white cop or a black cop if you are black? And I said, no. They said, what do you mean no? I said, there's no advantage.
It's the same. It's the
I
same
said,
blue.
people keep thinking that this is a cop thing.
Yeah.
It's an institutional
Yeah,
thing.
it's an
It's
institution.
a racist institution.
Yeah.
So everyone that comes into them is taught, or they're being pulled in that direction.
Yes.
I can't tell you the number of times I've interviewed partners where one was a minority and one happened to be white.
Yeah.
Which one do you think deferred to the other? The minority always deferred to the white cop.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Well,
was
they have
very
problems
telling.
on the inside.
They have problems
I mean,
on the inside.
it ain't no picnic for them as well.
Can I see your book there? For
Absolutely.
a
I mean, they have problems too dealing with racism, and because of the way it is. But I wonder if when you were interviewing, there was a time when you felt comfortable that if you got into some sort of trouble, that you would call the police and feel that they were going to come and help you. Now you get into trouble and you have to think about that.
You do.
You really have to think about that because you don't know, and you're the victim. So you have no idea whether they're going to help you or not. You almost will not call them for fear that it could escalate out of control for no apparent reason.
Well, I'll tell you the number one area where you don't want to call a police officer or you don't want to be involved is anything that has to do with domestic violence.
Yeah.
That ratchets up quicker than any traffic stop,
That's
any
true.
drug thing, or
Yeah.
it is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
is
definitely can. Dawn and I, a couple weeks ago, we actually last Thursday, it started Thursday, so we did she did a workout, a Zumba workout with the LAPD.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were all there. They were wimps when it came to the dancing Zumba and doing burpees. It was a few of them that was all right. There was some that was having some major problem. But what do you think based upon that? You from back east and I'm from back east, so there was a lot of community policing in those back in the cities that I grew up in, Buffalo. So of course they came to the schools, they talked to the kids, and you saw them, and it wasn't a threat between anybody.
Yeah.
I know at the park where I play tennis, the police officers, and this is commissioned, they drive around the park 3 or 4 times. The helicopters are all over making sure that we're protected because that particular area had at some point been a really bad area as far as drugs and gangs. But they're there, and so they wave at the kids. They come over and talk to the kids when we have events. They come over and help us. They're hitting balls and playing tennis with the kids as well.
Yeah.
So now the children are seeing them as friends as opposed to foes. But then I wonder if there's confusion for our children when we set up this artificial environment where it's friendly, and then they go out into a world outside of that little nucleus, and it's not friendly. What's that message can we give our child?
Yeah. I want to start with a saying. I had a girlfriend read the book, and I've known her for years, and she says, you know what I like about your book is that when you know it from your book, you can't not know it. She said it's simple enough for you to know it, but then once you know it, you don't not know it. And that's what I think is the key ingredient to what you're saying. No matter where your kids are, if they know it, they'll know how to act. So friendly or not, they'll have the right thing to do. They'll know the right move. They'll know the right thing to say. They'll know what not to say. They'll know what to sign. They'll know what not to sign.
And that's why this book is such a great guide. The book is called The First 7 Seconds, and it says, save your child from police violence, and that right now. And this book is by Mr. Greg Winston. He's an entrepreneur, and he's been writing a lot of narrative and information for us in the minority environment, so we can be better. We can operate much better within our environments, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's interacting with the police. But this book is a very good book. You guys want to check it out. And how do we get a hold of this book? Where can we purchase it?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Just look up The First 7 Seconds. Use the number 7.
First 7 seconds.
Greg Winston.
Yes.
Yeah, and gosh, the sales have been good. I think it's hit a nerve. The book has hit a nerve.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially what's going on right now with police brutality and all these killings.
Yeah.
Yesterday in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, that was
that
outrageous and stuff.
I know.
Yeah, that was.
7 cops.
It's everywhere. I think it's a lot of it's gun control. So, what are some of the things that one needs? So, let's see. You have it's critical. You master 3 areas of response: your hands, your eyes, your feet.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean?
Okay. When you're pulled over, the first thing that I want to tell you is have your hands at 10 and 2.
Like this?
No, on the steering wheel.
Oh, okay.
The one thing that police officers have always said to me is that the first thing they look for is where your hands are. No matter what your body is doing, they're going to look for your hands. In that movie you talked about, The Love You Hate, the father had taught his kids to put their hands on the dashboard. Okay? So the second thing that they look for is any quick movement. If you're moving around, they think you're looking for something. You can't dip, you can't slouch. You keep your hands right there and
So
just stay
even if they
still.
ask you for your driver's license, you can't produce it?
At that point, you tell them what you're going to do. I'm going to get my driver's license. It's in the glove compartment. It's in my visor. Let me reach up. Whatever it is, you let them know.
Yeah.
And then you get it and you hand it to them. You put your hands back on the wheel.
Right.
You know, one thing I didn't know, and I found this interesting, if someone pulls you over, roll all your windows down.
Down.
All of them down.
So they can see in the
So
vehicle.
they can see that there's nothing going on.
Right.
Because they say it makes them jumpy. If your back windows are tinted and they can't see it, although it's legal, they're nervous. So it's amazing what
That's a
causes
good
them
point.
to. Yeah.
That's a good point.
My question is, when did they get so nervous?
Well, you know something, I look at that, and when you were talking about back in the day when we had friendly cops, back in the day it was a respected position. And they've done so much has come out now between, I think it started with Rodney King, and then some of the corruption they found in New York, and we started to really look at what our officers were doing.
Yeah.
And it dropped in terms of popularity, and the recruiting dropped. So you got 2 factors. You have an institution that's based in racist behavior, and they're going to hire who they like.
Right.
And when they dipped into that well, the number 1 recruit was someone who'd been in the Army, who was accustomed to shooting guns.
Right.
So it's changed from the time we used to know it.
Right.
Yeah, whether it was where you went into it, because you might. So a lot of times, police officers, that occupation is a legacy type of occupation.
Yeah.
Their fathers were. When you look at the way it used to be, I think you're absolutely right. I also think that if they were previously soldiers, a lot of them could be suffering from PTSD.
I agree.
So that means that there needs to be more psychological training going on their behalf.
More psychological examinations. Then training.
Then training for them, because we all know that it's a dangerous job. Right? You go into it knowing that. And if you're that afraid to be out on the street, that is a job you should not be in.
I agree.
That's
Because
a very good point.
if the minute you leave the station, you're afraid that somebody's going to shoot you, then you shouldn't be there.
That's not the job for you.
That's not the job for you.
That's a very good point.
Right?
Yeah. It's like if you don't like kids, why be a teacher?
Yeah,
Exactly.
you don't be a teacher because
Exactly.
you're gonna hate the kids and
That's
they're
a
gonna get
very
on your
good point.
nerves.
Right.
So that is. But and then I think also this whole new thing about guns and the power of guns, and I think guns give you an unnatural sense of power.
Oh, for sure.
And you look at some of the ones that have found themselves in this position, they're scary, they're shaky. You can sit there and see their hands are shaking like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
Because you know they go to, I have friends and I've dated guys that were cops. They weren't afraid of nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a darn thing when they're afraid.
I know what you're saying.
I just think it's an excuse that they use talking about they're afraid. I mean, they're trained not to be afraid. You know, they're trained to be fearless. So then when they approach a car, you know, it's most of the times when they see a car, they pretty much have an idea who's in the car because they either see the car going by or in the opposite. They know what's going on. They may not know exactly everybody in the car, but at least they see the demeanor of the driver. Mm-hmm. So they have some kind of idea. So I don't know if I agree with them when they're saying that they're afraid. I mean,
I just feel that if you're a police officer, and the ones that Dawn and I were with the other day was not one of those guys that when I looked at them, like, nah, these guys wouldn't be afraid when they were on the streets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like I said, I've dated a number of police officers, cops, and they weren't.
Now, how would someone find you on social media?
Well, Instagram is one, and Facebook, and all of them are the same title. Is one Greg Winston.
One Greg Winston.
Yeah, so I made it easy.
Yeah, you made it easy.
The number one or
Yes.
the word one?
The number one. Good
Okay.
question. Yeah.
So now this event, so it's going to be in Van Nuys.
Yeah.
And what's the date again?
It's the 29th, so a couple of Thursdays from now.
Okay.
And I'm really excited. We've invited some celebrities to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm finding that more and more celebrities are concerned about their kids. Mm-hmm. And LeBron James, who's really concerned, and not that he's going to be there,
Right.
but he was voicing his concern about his kids growing up.
Well,
now.
again, that goes back to the guy, the father in
right.
Beverly Hills, right? You expect your children to be safe. You also have taught your children a different sense of safety than, let's say, a child in the community.
That's right.
Or in the hood, right? So, and you've taught your child with money comes assurance and confidence.
Yeah.
Right? And you've been rationalizing and reasoning with your children since they were young. So now all of a sudden you're not getting it's a different type of child, but they see the one outside look.
Yeah.
And I think kids, now in this case, I think black and white, because I think if you go into communities where there is a high drug and it's, with the opiates, then those white kids are just as dangerous, if not more so dangerous than black kids are.
Yeah.
So I think it may be the same thing, and they wear the hoodies. They wear the hoodies as well. Because that's all part of that culture, right? Because they think they're being cool.
Well, one of the things I want to tell you, you talked about community. Part of the reason for doing the event is to go back to how we used to be. Mm-hmm. Years ago, there was a sense of community we had. And a parent could trust that if their kid went to a different neighborhood, that parent would watch that child and reprimand that child if they had to. So what I'm trying to do with the events that I'm causing is to cause a community of education. Right. So the more that we can do it, the more I can put it on Facebook and Instagram, the more I can do these events. I think we can build that community over the internet, where it used to be just right around the corner from us.
So it's like a sense of re-awareness.
Yes. Yeah. And I want everyone to know so that they can't not know in the future.
Right.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to add to let the audience know about before we go ahead and take a break?
I want to say something that I found to be shocking.
Yeah.
And I don't know that a lot of people know this. You remember the death of Eric Garner?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There was a cop that did the chokehold on him, Pantaleo.
Yes.
And people question police officers all the time, good ones and bad ones. Do you know that in 12% of the cases where a police officer has killed us, they're repeat offenders?
Really?
Pantaleo had 14 different citations of him being violent.
Wow.
So it wasn't new to him, and it wasn't an accident that he killed Eric Garner. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't shocked that he got off, because they have a statute called qualified immunity that helps police officers in situations just like this. Originally written for people that were public officials, they now extend it to police officers. And so we sit here and we complain about it, but the thing that causes them to get off all those times is qualified immunity.
Wow.
Yeah,
And it's
so
a
then
law
that's
that's
where
written.
legislation comes
That's
in.
where it should be.
Yeah, we need to have
And
legislation.
see, we need to be aware of those things as well. You know, before now, I didn't know that this qualified immunity existed. So now that I know that, I'm definitely going to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
Because it just means that, you know, it's a no-win situation that you're in.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
we
what it
shouldn't get
is.
to that point. The
Yeah.
reason for the book is to help us not get to that situation,
Right,
because
right.
if we get there, we've already lost.
Right.
Right. And I would think that, you know, even with you reaching out to the American Civil Union, because they've gotten, you know, with so much going on, obviously there's an inundation of lawsuits. And that part I don't get that either, that a city would rather spend billions of dollars, and that's where we are right now, because
Yeah.
people are suing billions of dollars instead of correcting the problem.
Yeah.
I know.
That makes no sense. Even with the children being abducted, I just read yesterday it's going to be billions of dollars. Families are actually suing Homeland Security
Yeah.
and the country. So you're bankrupting your city.
Yeah.
Unless they have going through the budget, it's like, okay, we have a budget. We got $20 million for lawful police brutality. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal, they average about $6 million per family. When they're sued and they win,
Yeah.
they pay them an average of $6 million. You would think that a person who wrote a book like this that
Right.
could help bridge the two, it would be easy. I could
Right.
just go to any police department. I could go to
Right.
any. It is so hard to get people to pay attention to this.
Well, I think, you know, based on what you said about this qualified immunity, right, is part of what they're operating on, that's going to work for them. So therefore, if you try to sue them, then it won't be in your favor. It would be in their favor.
Well, it gets them off, but it doesn't relieve them of a financial burden.
For
They
the
don't go to jail, but they
civil-
still have to pay.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
And then the city or the state that they're in. Because if you're going to city, then you're going to go state, and you're just going to keep on going up the chain.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these people have lost. There is no price that you can put on for losing your child to gun violence when you look at,
Oh,
you know.
I wouldn't take $6 million from my kid.
No.
I don't know very many people that would.
No.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
because you lost your child.
Yes.
You know, you've ended their lives right then and there. So this is absolutely fantastic.
amazing
And it's
book.
always good to, you know, we have to have action. We just can't sit and let stuff happen. You know, we'll definitely be marketing. But a little bit more, aren't you going to become one of our feature businesses?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
Let's see what
Well,
we got on that.
one of our feature highlights. So once a month, a couple times a month,
Oh,
Greg and
very
I are
good.
talking about
Very
him coming
good.
in.
That
and-
would be good.
Thank
and
you.
having
Thank you.
having some conversation with individuals, parents, and so
And that's
forth.
really what we want to do on this show. We want to highlight small businesses in the community so other small businesses and even residents will know about what is it you do, what products or services you have to offer to solve their problems.
Yes.
Yes. So
And there
we're
used to
looking
be a
forward
show
to it.
here and I think Felicia was telling me, there used to be a show here on the Morris Media Network that was called Ride Along. And it
Oh,
was
I
a
didn't know
police-
that.
Yeah, it was a police officer and two police officers. So one of them, I think, has moved away, and the other one is trying to decide whether he wants to come back. But I think it was a very highly watched show and followed show.
Wow. Right along.
It's called Ride Along.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Winston, I want to thank you on behalf of the Business Zone for being here today. I certainly learned a lot from this book. The first 7 seconds, save your kids from being brutalized by the police. And this is just amazing. And this book can be obtained on Amazon.
On Amazon, the first 7 seconds, Greg Winston.
First 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And is it going to be many more?
Well, I hope not. I hope this is the only time I have to write about this.
Yeah,
takes
I
off
hope
from
so
here,
too.
Crystal.
Well, maybe if we have some new administration in 2020, or when we vote in 2020,
Oh, that has to happen.
then we have to, because we got a lot of work to do. But I
Yeah.
think it's all about understanding. And I think the other part is I think the biggest thing of racism is not understanding other cultures.
I agree.
You know, if you're ignorant of how people do whatever they do, and I don't think there's enough discussion. I think there needs to be more discussion in schools. I need and honest discussions. And I think everyone's culture should be highlighted so that you will see the nuances in each and everyone, but understanding that under the outside coat, we're all the exact same people. And
so thank you again for joining us here on the Business Zone today. The Business Zone is aired every Friday from 3 to 4. And our phone number here is 323-293-3375. That's 323-293-3375. Mr. Winston, thank you very much for being on our show. And we are looking forward to having you as our featured guest next week.
Okay. Not next week.
Won't be next
soon.
week. Yes, soon. We're going to work out that. So anything coming up for you? Last 5 minutes?
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break right now, and then when we come back, we'll talk about some of our upcoming events.
All righty.
All right. Okay. So you're on the Business Zone with
Crystal,
Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic, and our very special guest, Mr.
Greg Winston.
There we go. Take a break.
Small businesses spend more than $500 million each year combined trying to find missing or replace missing paperwork. Hey small businesses, are you tired of losing out on business opportunities because your paperwork is not in order? And don't you hate having to register in multiple websites just to find a single procurement opportunity that may not even be worth your time? Well, worry no more. Small Biz Pro is the solution to your problems. Small Biz Pro is an all-in-one cloud-based business management, compliance, and procurement assistance software platform that keeps small businesses organized, contract-ready, bank loan-ready, with quick access to procurement opportunities, as well as market research data. Here are some of the features and benefits that you receive when you use Small Biz Pro to run your business daily. Superior record keeping at your fingertips, back office management and compliance, quick access to bids and procurement opportunities in government databases. It allows you to conduct easy market research and gather industry statistics. Government certification preparedness and compliance checklists. Easy HR and general operations management functionality. Bank loan readiness preparation and cash flow management. Certified payroll and labor compliance reporting. Business dictionary with defined business terms. A cloud-based business management platform that keeps small businesses organized and ready, even nonprofits. Business documents securely stored in the cloud. Data fully encrypted and protected by triple firewall reinforcements. On-the-spot document retrieval for quick decision-making. Bank-level data security for compliance. Document expiration alerts and advanced notifications.
And we are back on the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And over the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about ways in which small businesses can become self-sufficient and sustainable. And Crystal had some very, very good pointers that we could share. We want to just rehash some of those right now so that entrepreneurs out there listening and watching the Business Zone can really get some key tips on how to help themselves to become sustainable. So, Crystal?
So one of the things we talked about, we've been talking about the business checkup. So making sure that from January to July, the 6-month checkup that your business was running operable, you're checking out your marketing strategies and make sure that they were working. And you're reviewing your financial statements. You have financial statements to make sure that money's on tap for whatever you projected out for the year. And now we're in the latter 4 months of the year, and we're moving forward to finish out the year. And so we just want to make sure you're checking your reports, you're checking to make sure that your products are still relevant, that you know who your customer is, and that your strategies are working for that particular group of people, and that you finish out this year with a bang. And you also start looking into the next year. And so right now our focus should be on how we close that wealth gap. In order to do that, we need to be looking at how we create multiple streams of income within our business, within our home. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Right. I think that's key in a nutshell right there, Crystal. Yeah. Those are some key things. And the one point that we really, really wanted to drive home on this show is that Just like with your car needs to be serviced every 3 months. You got to do an oil change. You got to check your fluids and all of those things. Same thing with your business. You want to do a check up with your business just to see where you are. At the beginning of the year, you may have made a pledge that you want to generate $500,000 or $350,000 for the year. At this point in time, we're now 8 months into the year. Are you closer to that goal or not? And if you're not closer to that goal, what have you done that didn't work? And what is it that you need to do in order to achieve that objective?
Yes, for sure. And then before we close out, this is on a solemn note. One of my best friends passed away on Thursday. Her name is Vita Brown. She was a curator for California African Museum. Vita passed away with ovarian cancer. So women, make sure you're taking precautions, you're getting your checkups. She will be greatly missed. I've known Vita. It's like there's a squad of four, myself, Daisy, Stacy, and Vita. Yeah. And so she was a very, very close friend of mine. So we were very saddened. And my prayers and sympathy goes out to her family. It is a great loss for us, but it's a major loss for the art community because that was her passion. And so...
And my condolences to her.
Yeah, so it's pretty sad. It shook us a little bit because, wow, we've all been moving and growing up together and never would have thought that one of the four would not be here any longer.
And see, that's the thing about life. You're here, you're here today and you're gone tomorrow. And that's part of the reason why we really, really want to keep doing good because we never know. We never know when, we'll be asked to come home. And
right.
We want to leave a legacy here for not only just our kids, but also for others that we preach to and teach in the communities. As entrepreneurs and as coaches and mentors, we've got a responsibility to guide small businesses, entrepreneurs in a positive direction. And the things that we do here on the Business Zone, Crystal, it's been really phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we want to continue to do that.
And I would say from a personal standpoint, live your life like today. Every day is your last day. So enjoy your life. We can't leave it all to just work. We have to have downtime and playtime to enjoy every moment and every breath and make sure you're enjoying your family and your friends and valuing them and cherishing them because one day one of us or all of us won't be here. So that's what I'm going to leave the show with today is
I truly agree.
And I told my girlfriends, okay, you guys are no longer going to be hermits. We coming out. And you need to live in your passion and you need to give back and you need to leave. When you leave this planet, you need to make sure that you have done some good here to make change and make it better.
I totally agree with that. And before we leave, I just wanted to let the audience know that I have a workshop coming up on August 28th. This workshop will be hosted by NABO, National Association of Business Women Owners. And this will be at the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. This will be at Bixel Street. And it's going to be a great workshop. It's all about what you need to know in order to interact with your clients, and also what we call a KYP, knowing your personnel. So we have a personality profile that we're going to use to help you to assess and determine who your clients are and how you can behave and interact with a client to bring positive results. So I'm really looking forward to that workshop, Crystal.
Well,
that's going to be amazing. So far, I think we've got about 35 people already enrolled in this program. So we're looking forward to it. And if you guys need to give us a call here or call me to get enrolled or attend that workshop, here's a number that you can call, 888-882-1168. That's 888-882-1168. That's a toll-free number. You can call that number, and it will be forwarded also. If no one answers at the time when you call, it will be forwarded right to my cell phone so I can address the issues you guys may have.
All righty. So we have completed another week of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, and have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next Friday.
We're out.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement, program and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman.